How's it going, folks? Nick here with the Tieta Permaculture vlog. It has been a while. I am back. We got Otto here too. Otto welcomes everyone back. We've been away for more than a month now. Yeah, for a year now I've been doing this pretty consistently, and it's something I've really been enjoying and a way for me to kind of share this knowledge. Then I was fortunate enough to get some work doing permaculture online. I'm now working with Jeff Lawton for his online permaculture design course. That's really exciting for me. I get to actually kind of teach permaculture and be doing that on a daily basis. So I've been spending a lot of time with that. We also just moved, so we used to be living right here. Now we are down here. So this is our house now. We've moved, so I spent a lot of time in the past month basically moving. Between that and work and everything, I just did not have time for this vlog, but I'm back now. I wanted to kind of basically just show you what I've been doing and kind of what's changed. I do want to say before I jump into the chickens, I am so humble and so grateful for all of you who have been commenting on my posts and just saying how you've liked the channel, you've liked the videos I've been doing. That really, it gives me so much inspiration to come back after a long break like this. Thank you so much for continuing to subscribe and continue to follow and continuing to comment. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel or like the videos or anything like that as you're watching these videos. Let's move on in and see what's going on in the chickens here. All right, so looking at these chicks, you would actually think they were the my original ones, but these are actually the chicks, the baby chicks. And I can say right now, they are not baby anymore. So you can see right down there, that's the whole group of them. The most scared down there. They're always the most scared for some reason. Yeah, here's our rooster. Rooster's doing well. This is the new rooster out of the baby brood. There's Henry, Mama Henry. And then we got these two, that one right there, and this one right here. These two are basically the breed stock of Henry and the rooster. And then all the kind of tan colored ones and the rooster here, they're all breed stocks of, you know, our rooster and one of the other mamas are kind of more homestead style mamas here. You can see I do have a compost pile here. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But yeah, these chicks are pretty much just chickens now. They're not laying yet, so they're still in that kind of chick phase. I think there's a word for that. I'm forgetting it right now. But yeah, they're basically just kind of getting used to being part of the flock, which is really fun for us. And we actually have them all integrated now. If you've seen my videos before, you've kind of seen a very kind of long, narrow chicken coop area. And what I've done now is actually kind of widen it out a little bit. So let me actually pull you back a little bit. Let's get a bigger one. So you can see the fence line used to come right along here, right along there. And so I've actually just pushed that all the way out. So I just added the chicken wire along the fence. Actually, it was already there because I actually had a separate pen for the chicks while they were growing up. So they had their own space in between this fence line and that fence line. So now that's all opened up. So they have a little bit more room up here just because we're actually enjoying having so many chicks and so many chickens here, with the exception of, you know, a little bit of extra work that it takes to get them, keep everyone happy and keep this area maintained. You can see I've been adding a lot of mulch because we just recently had a lot of rain. Plus I just did a compost pile, so I used up all my mulch. All right, so back to the compost pile. I just built one on the 15th, and today's the 24th, I think, or something like that, somewhere around 24th. So yeah, it's been like 9-10 days-ish since I built the compost pile. And I basically just used all of the kind of mixed bedding I have in here. So you can see it decently well right now. It's a little bit hard to see at this point, but you can see here there's a bunch of kind of wood chips. And these I use as bedding, especially in the areas where there's a lot of wetness, a lot of rain that comes down, because they tend to last a little longer and stay in place a little bit more. And it takes longer to break them down. So any time where I have really exposed areas, like above this area that isn't really covered as much by anything, it's open up top there. So anything out there, I'm using these wood chips. And really at any point, if I need to just add a big bulky material, I like the wood chips. So I bring those in and they start to decompose and break down. The manure gets added in. The other material is this straw. I use straw or hay, anything like that kind of bedding. That then goes in together with the wood chips combined. And whatever manure I can scrape up from the chicken coop or down below then, there's manure mixed in and there's food scraps mixed in. You can see here, this is how we manage our system here. All of our food scraps, they just get thrown into the pen here, and the chickens eat what they want to eat, and the rest of it just gets mixed in. And then I just keep on adding more and more carbon in here. So it's a deep bedding system. What I use as the big green material in my compost pile, just to get back to that before I lose my train of thought like I do all the time. All this area over here, you can see I've been basically managing right along the fence line here, a large strip of this cane grass. And this is great mulch material, high in silica, so it takes a long time to break down. And I have, as you can see, an abundance of it over here. This is just the neighbor's field. So I've been harvesting this quite a bit, and I use that for the greens in the compost pile. All right, so the ingredients for the compost pile, we got the browns here, we got the high woody material, and also in this straw material, this is also considered a high carbon material. It's not woody, but it's a lot of carbon because all the nitrogen has been taken away because the seeds have been removed. That's what the straw is. I also do use hay. Hay is more of a green material, but once it's kind of been mixed in and started to compost into this huge mix of material I have here, I consider it a brown basically. So all this bedding is my brown material. Any manure I can grab from the chickens is my high nitrogen material, and then anything I can grab from over the fence, that's all my greens, plus any kind of extra food scraps I have the day I'm making the pile, or I'll just go and harvest a bunch of green growth from around the garden, some excess stuff that I just need to get rid of anyway. That really just helps me get a good balance of everything I need here. All right, the compost pile started right here. That was the first day of the pile, big old pile right here. Very big pile, actually. It was one of my biggest I've ever made back here, which is pretty fun. Big old pile there. After 4 days of, really it was 3 days of temperatures above 140. It was around 150, I think, when I turned it. But I did 3 full days there, and then I turned it, and I turned it once downhill and just to this little pile. So in that first turn, it was actually, once I turned it and got it all set up, it went right back up to temperature within 24 hours. That's exactly what you want. That means you got a good active pile. After I think a day after I turned it, it was back up to 142 Fahrenheit. That's just over like 55 Celsius, something like that. And then I just turned this yesterday for the third time. And the chickens, every time I'm done with the turn, they're all over it. They're scratching and everything. They love this. And this is a big food source. Since we started this compost pile, we've been noticing that the eggs have been much more thick and full of color in the inside. The yolks and everything more full of color, and they've just been like more hearty eggs. They've tasted really good, and that's because this compost pile has a whole bunch of critters going through it trying to consume everything in there. So it's actually acting as a feed source for me too, which is really nice. Just turned this yesterday and we're now at 130. So this actually kind of disappoints me. I wish I had gotten right up to 140 after a day. That means that everything's just kind of the active part of the compost is really starting to slow down. I would have really liked it to get up to 140 one more time and stayed there for 3 or 4 days. So I may end up adjusting this pile by adding a little bit more manure and turning it once more in a day or two if it doesn't really heat up to 140 again. It may just need a little bit of extra time though, because when I did turn it, there was a lot of rain right before that. So some of the contents might have got a little too wet, it might just need a little bit more nitrogen to help kickstart that. So I'm not really too concerned at this point. This is more of a long-term compost, and most of it's partially composted already because it is just all the bedding that's been in here, and that's basically just longer-term compost. If I just left it there for a long period of time, that will turn into compost very slowly. That's what soil building is. It's the same process. So it would end up turning into compost. It would just be much slower. So right now, when I'm trying to get back into the garden, trying to get things jump-started again, I want to have compost ready to go for me. In the gardens here, I'm just going to give you a really quick kind of view of the gardens. Right after I stopped vlogging for a while, basically we had a big drought. So instead of trying to get this bed, I had seeded this, nothing ever came up. I was going to come and reset it and get a new crop growing in here. But I just didn't get around to that. We started the move, I got too busy. And so what I did is just like threw a bunch of mulch down. You can see kind of down there at the base there's a bunch of mulch down. And then I just let this rest. I didn't do anything to it. It's just been growing. This bed here has our garlic chives, and it has our green onion and everything growing in it. This bed was raided by the chicks when they were younger. They can get out. I didn't have enough time to get out here and secure the fencing, so they got so much that this bed was raided by the chicks like I can't even tell you how many times, all the time. But garlic chives are still working, green onions are still going, so I guess I'll take a win. It's not completely destroyed. That's nice. I'm glad we at least get something out of that. Up here, everything's pretty much just overgrown, gone to seed. At this point, I've pretty much just let everything rest. About a week or two ago, I came back and I actually used a trimmer to cut down all the grass, just because I had literally let it grow for like a month and a half. So it was about this tall, and I was full of seeds and everything. So I cut it all down, to put that all into the chickens, just to give them a nice, lots of seed feed, and then kind of right after that we got a lot of rain, so it reset the system. Everything boomed right back up. And at this point, I've already cut a lot of this grass one more time since then. And you can see how much green, lush growth is coming back. So just giving this soil some time to rest and just grow in that drought period without trying to stress it out too much. I never really do anything with this grass area anyway, but also into the garden beds too. You can see this one, this is our kind of tomato and basil area. You can see it's actually still producing. I've done really nothing to this plant at all since, quite literally nothing. I haven't touched this thing since probably for a month. It's still producing flowers, it's still producing fruits. It's not as frequent anymore. It's definitely past its prime, but I mean, look at that tomato. That's really nice. I haven't done a single thing to earn that other than prep the bed and everything, but that's just happening without me. So this bed was a really cool one. I got a really good successional planting design in, and it worked out really well. You can actually still see them down here. This is a bunch of Asian greens. I just let these stay down there. I cut them back pretty heavily, but they just started regrowing. And then once the basil and the tomatoes started to die back, it just started growing again. This bed up here has just been completely overgrown, but I'm just letting it go to seed and do its thing and rest, and that's okay. Anytime I'm not going to spend back here, I just let everything go back to wild for a little bit. So at least there's living roots in the soil. It basically is acting like a cover crop. Even if it's not the stuff I want in here, like grass. I really don't want grass growing in my garden beds, but you know what? It's fine for the time being because it's helping me. So I'm not going to be mad at it. One thing to note, that if you've seen this vlog before, it looks very empty up here, very open to the sky. And that's because the parcha vine, the passion fruit vine that was climbing up it used to go like here, and it came across here into this tree here, into this papaya. And so I basically rerouted it once it fell, and I'm trying to get it all, you can go see it's going this way and up, and I'm trying to get it all to go up and onto this trellis that I have over the chickens. So that's what that trellis is for. And you can see there's some new parcha passion fruit growth right here. So it is starting to kind of try to climb up that way. So I just hope that it'll keep going. You can see there's a lot of fresh new growth right around here in this area where I threw that new vine over. So all this is new stuff coming up, and this is the oldest part of the vine. So there is a chance we might get some flowering and fruiting this year. It may take one more year. I'm not 100% sure on that. We're going to find out. This baby avocado tree is just doing so well. It's super happy. And the papaya over here, I think I showed you before, but this papaya, which I thought was a dud, or not a dud, it's just a male. I didn't think it would have any fruit. That's not a dud, it's just what it is. It actually had a small fruit on it. Let's see if I can find that. So this papaya here, which I thought was a dud, actually has a small little, we'll call it a limp papaya. So, you know, this thing, it's one of these, I think it is, I threw some seeds of a long papaya in here in this area, just to hope like one that actually grows long like this. But this I think is a male or hermaphroditic actually. This would be a hermaphroditic papaya. And I think this one, the fruit, what I've read is it's not gonna be great fruit. It's not going to taste very sweet or anything because the males aren't really meant to do that. Actually, I have a whole bunch of other papayas. This is another tree that I thought was just going to be a complete dud for me right up here. This is right above the tomato bed here. I really thought this one was going to be a dud, and look at this. We got with this new growth. So I thought this one was going to die back because it was pretty sad at the top. It set out all these side shoots, and you know, I was fine with it growing over here because I'm not going to use this area for anything. So I'm like, yeah, it's fine, shade it out. And look at that, 3 fruits right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. This one's just forming, still part of the flowers attached. So this is becoming a really productive tree, and it looks like I have some more female flowers coming on right there, just starting. So this is really exciting that this plant, this papaya tree that, again, I wanted papayas throughout the garden to provide high shade, because in the tropics you want that high shade to protect from the middle of the day extreme radiation from right above, because we're in the tropics here, it gets really hot. So the high shade layer helps you protect from that for your garden bed. So I'm using papaya as a really high shade without too many branches, because if there's too many branches then it gets annoying to work underneath in your garden. But with papaya you get this really tall stem with no branches, and then you have the leaves that come out here, and you can see it up there. That's exactly what's happening on that tall one in that upper bed. Just going up, and then it's going to spread out, and it's just providing a nice dappled shade effect down this garden. And all these gardens here, even during that whole drought time, I watered maybe this garden area where I'm trying to produce something a couple times, but I didn't water the rest of this at all. and it just kept going without any help from me. So that's like the power of the trees helping just maintain that soil ecosystem for me, and also just the power of the design here. All right, so in this bed was up here. We have a bunch of these local peppers. I forget what they're called, ají dulce, I think they call them here in Puerto Rico. They're a little tiny sweet pepper, and you can see it's this plant right here. This is the one right here. This is lemon balm right here. That's also starting to grow and do really well over here. I'm really excited for. But this one, that's ají dulce. There's another one over here, and these guys are just a perennial, or I think maybe not perennial, but they're annual, and they're probably self-seeding because they'll just keep dropping fruits and they'll keep growing. So that is something that I was aiming to grow there. I did a cover crop basically of radish. We did harvest some radish from up there. Not too much, but we harvested some, and the rest of it's basically just going to kind of decompose into the soil and hopefully be supporting those ají dulce, those peppers. You can see the peppers, it's been a little wet, which is why they're starting to turn that kind of yellowy color. And I really do need to come in here, and it's time for, what these leaves are telling me is it's time for a compost application. I'm just not ready with my compost. In tropics, you want a lot of compost application in small amounts throughout the year, right? Throughout the harvest. So when you're seeding, compost, then when they start producing leaves, some compost, and when they start flowering, compost, when they start fruiting, compost, just little by little, not too much, just a small little layer, and that just helps keep the soil happy until you get it really established. So what this is telling me is this just needs a little bit of time, a little bit of clearing out. It needs a little bit more light. I might prune some of these lower branches of this avocado here just to give a little bit more light. But again, I don't want too much light because we are in the summertime now, or we will be very shortly, and I don't want too much sun in the garden because that's going to basically disallow good growth. And this bed down here, this small little curve bed, all this arugula has been producing non-stop. You can see there's some weed stuff growing through there, stuff I don't really want here, but it's just kind of intergrowing, and every time we harvest some, I just kind of clear that out a little bit, and you can see I just haven't harvested for a while. So it's been going. It hasn't been like super high quality arugula here, but this is arugula that I'm not doing any work for at all, and it's just sitting in the bed doing well, and we can harvest it on multiple times a week. Come back here and get an arugula harvest. But yeah, nice to have greens and everything from the garden. A few of those are just perennial greens that are kind of mixed throughout there that just keep producing for us. We can come back and harvest. Obviously, you can see all over this one, the Malabar spinach. Let me zoom in on the moringa tree here. You can see all this is all Malabar spinach. This is an edible variety of spinach crawling up this moringa tree. And it's growing all over the trellis above the chickens. All that's edible. It's not our favorite green to eat per se, but it is a regular green that I can always come back and get, throw it in stir fry, stuff like that when I want some extra green material. It's some extra green in my diet. So really nice to have that here, just ready to go for us. All right, a little pond update. Rio had given me some vetiver slips, which I just laid. They're actually, the little slips are right in there. I just laid them on the side there because it was right when we were about to move and I didn't have time to plant them. And they're actually now just growing into the pond here. So this pond's acting as a little vetiver nursery for me until I get around to actually planting them. But this pond doing really, really well. There's so many baby fish in here. There's a little bit of excess algae growth, but what I do is I just come in and I harvest that off the top just to keep a little bit of an area clear right at the top here, you see. I just try to keep one area of the pond clear to the, not necessarily to the bottom, but at least from the top so some sun can get in there. And just to have a nice little clear area too. I like to be able to see down there. There's a whole bunch of babies right where I'm pointing the camera, but I don't know if you guys can really see those or not. So anyway, this pond though, it's these kind of floating plants, these floating water plants. These guys are just kind of spreading throughout. They're actually starting to grow out of the pond there on the side there. It's kind of cool to see. And yeah, it's just super cool to have this small little pond ecosystem. And it's just, I've seen birds come down here to drink. Otto comes and drinks from here all the time. A lot of times he'll actually come and lay on that rock there, and he'll actually have his tail in the water and he'll be just wagging his tail. And it's in the water. I'm like, what are you doing, bud? Why are you wagging your tail? Your tail's even soaking wet. And he doesn't care at all. He just loves being right there next to the water. And he comes down here all the time. Anytime we're back here, and he drinks from that water. So that kind of tells me, it's a really clear indication for me at least, that water is clean, because my cat, who they're pretty picky about which water they drink, that is always a go-to source of water for that cat. So pretty cool ecosystem in there is helping me keep that clean and keep that going for me while I'm not around. All right, one little final stop down here before continue on with the day here. This garden down here, I just did a big old harvest. If you're looking here, you might be noticing that there's quite a bit missing. Don't mind this. This is just the Osmo. Right here, there's something missing right here I'm seeing. And that's a huge papaya. There's a huge plantain. It looked just like that. It was about that tall. It had a rack of plantains just as big as that one. And it was time to harvest. This plantain here, I took down the actual rack of plantains. And once I had that down, I took the whole trunk down and I split it in half. And after I split that in half, I basically laid it on the soil. So you can see some down here, and this is actually protecting the chayote. So this big vine right here that's coming off, this is a chayote perennial vine. It's growing everywhere. It's fruiting everywhere. I can come and harvest these. You can actually see what happens. This is how they grow. They just grow right out of their old fruit. So look at that. This just came off naturally. So I'm just gonna put this down here so I can get another chayote vine growing. It'll just start basically popping out there. And I did that all throughout this bed here. So I should have a whole bunch more chayote growing from this bed. And this is just gonna be a long-term chayote bed for me because I can always climb up and then scramble along the fence line. I can just direct it wherever I wanna go. You can see it's actually going all the way up, all the way up there, almost to the moringa tree. It's all along the fence line there. It's going up into the trees on the other side of the fence here, which I probably should clear at some point, but I mean, it's edible food. So it's kind of cool that it's just there, and there's bananas there that are never really harvested. So just as a little like a food security in the future in case, you know, hurricanes come, we might have some over there growing for us. And then all along here on the fence line, it's going way down in that direction and everything. And it just keeps going. So this is chayote. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I'm growing this vine. I have harvested it multiple times. I have yet to actually cook it or eat it because I don't know how. And I've been told multiple times, I don't know how, but you know how like until you like really go through the process of something, it's just kind of a little overwhelming to get started. I'm still at that when it comes to chayote. Luckily, I have so much chayote growing and I'm planting more of it. So I'm gonna have plenty. Hopefully I like it, I guess I should say that. But if I don't like it, this just becomes a product that I can use. And then in hurricane times and everything, you don't really care if you really like it. You just want food and make sure you have food, right? So I'm gonna get used to eating it and learn how to eat it. I'm sure I'll love it. I've heard it's really good and it works in stir fries, and I like to make stir fries. So that's how I'm gonna learn how to do it. But yeah, this is producing for me. But so the plantain trunk went and it's protecting that vine. We're getting more vines established, and I put it all over the base here and then took all the leaves and put that right on top. So the old plantain is feeding the two new ones. You can see here, these are the two new ones that are just starting now. And these guys will probably take another like 12 months before they're producing. One more thing I wanted to show you guys, this is something they do in syntropic agriculture. It's basically to prevent any sort of disease from forming in your bananas or plantains or anything like that, is when you cut it and you cut this down, what you do is you actually create a little cup. I think I have some footage here right when I shot it. It might show a little bit better. So I'll explain it while I'm doing this. But basically what you're doing is you cut it down, you know, kind of low, probably a little bit higher than this. You cut it down and then you put in a slice cut here, and then you go this way in and you go this way in, kind of at like a 90-degree angle in on these two directions, but you only go like halfway. It's like a little, this is a half and this is a quarter and this is a quarter. And so if you cut it like that, what happens is all the sap that forms, because this thing's very wet, where after you cut it, it's like soaking with wetness. So as it dries out and everything, all the water will collect in here, and then it basically seals itself off and protects it from getting any sort of disease infestations or anything like that. So by cutting it like this, I'm hopefully making sure that this plant will continue to be healthy while these plants take over and become the next leaders. So these two will be the next ones to fruit, and it'll start already producing a new one right here. You can see coming out, and there's another one right here. But what I'll probably do is, when you're managing these for production, you tend to you want 3 total. You want one that's, this is a good example over here, a little bit better of an example. So you have the main one, which is currently producing. You have the next one in line, which is right here for this one. So you see how that's already like halfway up, whereas this one's a little bit slower. It's not really as far up yet. It hasn't really grown as much. This one up here, it's much higher. So once this one is ready for harvest, which will be very soon, this one will be much closer to taking its place in this kind of canopy overstory area. And then there's another one, I think, on the other side that's basically just starting to poke out. So when you're managing these for production, you tend to manage 3, and all the excess ones you can basically just dig them out off the side there and use that as a new tree somewhere. So I can take this, oh, I want more plantains, not papaya, more plantains somewhere. I'll just pull that and I'll put it somewhere else on the property, and then I have another kind of group starting up there. So you can use this as like a mother tree, and that was my plan the whole time, is this area was going to be a perennial area that I can start harvesting from long term. So the plantains are long term. It's going to be able to give me more plantains. It's just like down here. We have this coconut. Obviously I get coconuts, which is amazing. We've already harvested a bunch or two since last time. So we get coconuts, but then also down here you can see we have coconut trees, because I always leave some every time I harvest so that they can start growing. So this is a coconut tree nursery right here, and I'm not doing anything. It's just growing beneath its mama tree. That's how it grows in nature. And that's the same thing that's happening here. It's just a different type of doing that here with the plantains. And then same with the chayote. This is the mother vine basically, and all the fruits from this vine will produce new fruit, which we just place down here to start a new vine to do its own thing. So this is like the mother area. So this area is what I'm going to basically long-term food that's just like a perennial producer. And the reason I chose that is because this bed was the furthest away from where we were up there. That's where we live, so it's the furthest away, so I want to be more perennial, less input from me. But now we live here, and I actually want to make it so that I can access the backyard from right over here. There's a little bit of a gap there in the fence there. I just need to make this a little more secure, do some, there's a lot of cleaning up to be done, obviously. But once I get that all done, I'll be able to access the backyard from this way. So it'll actually be this bed that is the first one that I would pass on the way up to the chickens. So that may change how I organize this, but at this point, things are established, things are happy. We're good. I think I'm going to leave it as is, because we can still access it back here from this gate, which is what I did today. I just walk in the middle here, and then you're just in the middle. You can go anywhere you want, So it's really, this, because I have such a small property, that doesn't really change how my zoning is going to work too much, just because it is a really small property, and this is just the best way I can lay out my property for the time being. So I do have this little area fenced off now, because I want to let it regrow a little bit, and I might end up putting some root crop and everything down here, add a little compost, start this area as like a longer term kind of hurricane garden that just is protected from the chickens. And then once, with like something like yucca or cassava, once it starts growing and everything, the chicken can get in there a little bit. It'll be fine every once in a while, just to clean it up for me underneath. So that's kind of my plan. So we'll kind of see how that goes. And yeah, that's pretty much the update for you guys. I just want to kind of get back on here, show you guys that I'm still here. I'm still prepared to do this and continue to do this. I'm really excited to get back to this. I was just talking to Katie about that the other day, how I'm like really missing being able to do these vlogs on a regular basis. I just didn't have the energy or the time to really commit to it until now. Now I'm trying to restart. It'll probably be a slow restart here, guys. Honestly, I'm just going to be completely upfront and honest with you guys. Again, I'm going to aim for at least one a week, and then if I can start upping it from there, I will. I might be switching up the content style too. I've been thinking about a couple other ways of going through things. Might be some shorter videos. I know that some of you guys have said you'd love to see some shorter videos. I know some of you guys would prefer me just to spend more time developing a whole, like, this is how the compost video, how to build a compost pile, more longer term video, but goes through a whole process pretty in depth. So there's a couple different styles of videos I've been doing. So if you guys if you're watching this at this point, you're probably one of my loyal followers, the ones that kind of watch the whole video always. Thank you. I really appreciate you. And even if you're a first-time subscriber watching this, thank you for lasting this long. You are one of those people. Please subscribe. But yeah, I'd really like to know from you guys what you'd like to see more of. Not necessarily topics, but just kind of format-wise. Would you like shorter videos, longer videos, these regular updates, just showing kind of how I'm doing things in the backyard? What kind of videos are you guys looking for? That'll help me kind of make some decisions moving into the future as I continue this and try to figure out how to really fit it into my regular life. Because once we're moved in, once we're all settled in again and we get going, my plan is to be doing this on a much more regular basis. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please do subscribe and like the video, share my videos. That really helps me get the word out there, spread the news, and get more followers to my channel. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for all your support and your patience with me in this time while I've been moving. And I hope to continue this for quite some time. So thanks so much, guys, and until next time, have a good one.